He's a broke student drowning in debt, but he just stumbled upon a god-tier glitch. Suwon was a nobody with zero prospects until a system window changed everything. While others train for decades, he uses a mental chamber to farm years of experience in a single breath. The school's top genius tried to flex, but Suwon ended him with one casual slap before the crowd could even blink. The name is High Martial World, single-handedly sweeping through 3,000 emperors, and this is just the beginning. Our boy is currently at the training grounds looking like a man whose muscles have muscles as he spars with a partner who is clearly reconsidering his life choices. After taking a hit to the arm that probably felt like a direct message from a sledgehammer, the partner complains that it hurts like hell, but he can't help but notice that Suwon has already reached the subtle mastery level with his diamond fist. In this world, martial arts proficiency is a 5-tier ladder ranging from a total beginner to perfect completion, and Suwon is already climbing it faster than a politician dodging a subpoena. His sparring partner calls him a training maniac and decides he's done for the day, heading home to eat while Teacher Lee tells him to actually put some clothes on before he wanders off into the sunset. Teacher Lee then corners our boy to ask about the 30,000 yuan registration fee for the martial science exam, reminding him that the deadline is Monday and the rules have less empathy than a corporate layoff. Our boy's voice basically turns into bullets as he pleads for just a few more days, but even the teacher knows that the system is as rigid as the flight logs for a private island in the Caribbean. Once everyone leaves, Suwon stands alone in the quiet, drowning in the weight of that fee and remembering how he ended up here. After his parents died in a beast disaster when he was 3, his uncle and aunt took him in and supported his training, hoping martial arts would be his ticket to a high-income life in an era where fierce beasts are the only thing running rampant besides federal debt. Our boy heads home, but before he can walk through the door, he overhears a conversation that makes his soul want to take a permanent vacation. His aunt and uncle are arguing over whether to pay the rent or the exam fee, with his aunt even suggesting she stop taking her medicine because she thinks her life is a lost cause anyway. His uncle insists he'll just take on another job, which makes our boy so frustrated with himself that he slaps his own face like he's trying to reboot his brain. He walks in and his aunt tries to act like everything is fine, telling him to go rest. But Suwon looks at them and realizes his poverty logic simply does not fly in this tax bracket. The next day, the scene shifts to the underground martial apprentice arena, a place that smells like expensive cologne and corruption, much like a backroom deal on Capitol Hill. Our boy shows up wearing a mask and going by the name Minotaur, and the announcer explains that he needs 4 consecutive wins to take home 60,000 yuan. Otherwise, he gets nothing. The crowd is full of skeptics who think this rookie is on a suicide mission, and when the announcer tells him to hype up the crowd, our boy decides to lean into the drama. He shouts that he is invincible against anyone below the warrior realm, which immediately makes the audience want to see him get wrecked. Suwon realizes the killing intent in the room is heavy, but he needs that tuition money more than he needs a peaceful night's sleep. His first opponent is a guy in a mouse mask who jumps in with plenty of momentum but the stability of a presidential candidate's poll numbers, and our boy finishes him with a single strike that sends him flying. The announcer is thrilled, but the next opponent is another man whose muscles have muscles, claiming that Suhong's luck has officially run out. Our boy isn't intimidated and decides to use this tank of a human to test the power of his diamond fist. He catches a punch, realizes the guy has no waist stability, and delivers a kick to the stomach that leaves the crowd wondering if they just witnessed a murder. Up in the VIP section, a mafia boss who looks like he's one step away from being mentioned and a congressional hearing is watching with interest. He thinks Suwon is the perfect candidate for match fixing, the kind of person who is better than the worst but not as good as the best. He sends a subordinate with a PhD in betrayal to go recruit him, specifically telling the guy not to mention that he's already advanced to the warrior level. Back in the ring, Suwon is one win away from the prize when his final opponent, White Fox, steps out. The crowd starts whispering that this is a total scam because White Fox is a quasi-warrior, which is basically like bringing a lobbyist to a town hall meeting. White Fox tells our boy not to be afraid because he knows how to control his strength, but as soon as they clash, Suwon realizes he's been lied to. This guy isn't a quasi-warrior, he's a true warrior who is suppressing his energy to cheat the system, and he hits Suwon with a triple thunder rush fist that makes our boy's eyeballs practically sweat with the impact. Our boy ends up on the ground with a bloody nose, feeling his consciousness fade as the fox puts a foot on his chest. The fox offers him a deal to join their match-fixing ring and get the prize money, or get crippled and watch his dreams turn into a permanent nightmare. Suwon, being a man of principle, tells him that he would never do something so shameless. The fox gets serious, threatening to end his career right then and there, but Suwon has a sudden realization and dodges the attack just in time. Covered in a red aura and fueled by the memory of his family's sacrifices, our boy refuses to fall. He decides he'd rather give everything than give up his beliefs, powering up with a massive aura that says he's done playing nice. As our boy levels up, he suddenly finds himself teleported into a mysterious mental chamber that looks like the high-budget set of a Mr. Beast video. He looks around, confused and wondering where on earth he is, when he comes face to face with a massive beast that looks like a literal digital deity. This golden god tells him he is being given a chance, and suddenly a system window pops up in front of his face like a targeted ad for a crypto scan. Our boy scans his stats, noticing his blood energy is at 85 and his spirit is at 23. But his physical mortal body is sitting at a negative 3%, which is basically the health bar equivalent of a cracked phone screen. He sees a quest called Path of the Arena and tries to touch the screen, realizing it is actually interactive. The quest description tells him the road to becoming strong is full of thorns, much like trying to survive a Twitter cancellation, and tasks him with honing his skills to deal with the white fox waiting outside. He needs to raise his diamond fist to grand achievement and get his other skills to subtle mastery. There is no reward since this is a beginner tutorial, which is some seriously low-tier content creator energy, but our boy reads it anyway. Suddenly, a hologram of himself appears and tries to punch him, moving with the kind of textbook precision you only see in professional training videos. Our boy dodges and realizes this clone is essentially the ultimate tutorial, and he's not about to miss this chance to learn from a version of himself that actually knows what he is doing. The clone catches his wrist and punches him right in the gut, sending him flying while our boy wonders if the hologram is actually trying to help or just enjoys the violence. He checks the system again and sees his Diamond Fist mastery has jumped from 7 to 10% in record time. Realizing this is the ultimate hack for his martial skills, he jumps back into the fight. We see his progress bars flying up like a viral video's view count, hitting 15, 23, and then 59%. His Void Step and Floating Light Palm are also skyrocketing, hitting the high 90s until finally, all three skills hit a perfect 100%. The clone disappears like a YouTuber's career after a leaked group chat, and a notification congratulates him on completing the quest. Our boy agrees to return to reality, ready to show the world his new gains. Back in the arena, White Fox is still charging forward like he didn't just spend the last few minutes waiting for our boy to finish a loading screen. Swan dodges the attack effortlessly, telling the guy he is way too slow before landing a punch, so heavy it shatters the fox's mask and sends him into a permanent nap on the floor. The crowd is absolutely stunned, watching the masked underdog standing over the defeated favorite. Our boy immediately turns to the announcer and asks for his prize money, clearly prioritizing his bank account over the glory. The announcer is momentarily glitching from the shock before announcing that the Minotaur has successfully defended the arena and won the 60,000 yuan prize. Up in the stands, the boss in the suit is having a total meltdown, wondering how a mere apprentice managed to reach grand achievement in the Diamond Fist when even most professional warriors can't pull that off. He smells a mystery and sends two of his bodyguards to follow our boy and unmask him, hoping to find out who this mysterious powerhouse actually is. Our boy starts walking through the streets and immediately senses the two men tailing him. Instead of panicking, he uses his newly mastered Void Step to vanish into thin air, leaving the goons wandering around like they lost their GPS signal. He's actually perched high above them between the buildings, watching them fail at their jobs while he heads home. An hour later, Swan arrives at his house and drops the pile of cash onto the table, making his uncle's hands tremble with shock. His uncle asks if he robbed a bank, which is a fair question considering their current tax bracket, but our boy just smiles and lies through his teeth. He tells them his dojo master thinks he has massive potential and decided to sponsor his training, even though his uncle remembers him saying that dojo master was a total cheapskate. His aunt is just happy that their boy has made something of himself, and for a moment, the family tension finally evaporates. Later that night, our boy is standing on a rooftop under a sky full of stars, looking like he's posing for a motivational thumbnail. He realizes that between the exam fee, the rent, and the medical bills, his financial crisis has officially been canceled thanks to the system. He checks his stats again, noticing that while his skills have reached grand achievement, his physical stats haven't budged. He sees he has 67 martial Dao points from defeating a higher-level opponent and decides to allocate them into his blood energy. As he dumps the points in, he feels a surge of power that makes his muscles look like they were carved by a Renaissance sculptor. His blood energy hits 90, which puts him at the upper level of a quasi-warrior, and he realizes his injuries are completely healed. Feeling like he's got endless power vibrating through his body, he decides he needs to test his new strength immediately. He heads to the high school martial arena to find a combat power tester, deciding to use only 70% of his strength. He throws a punch that doesn't just register a score, it absolutely demolishes the machine, leaving it in pieces. He stares at the wreckage, suddenly realizing he might have to pay for the damage, which would definitely ruin his new rich guy vibes. Suddenly, an angry old man storms onto the scene, shouting about who smashed the school's equipment in the middle of the night. The old man looks at the broken tester and immediately assumes it was two other students, Chen Shan and Li Tu, swearing to teach them a lesson when school starts. Our boy stays quiet, letting those two take the fall for his massive gains while he slips away into the night. Our boy is currently at the Star City No. 1 High School Gymnasium, where the student body is gathered for a mandatory assembly that has the same energy as a YouTuber's 30-minute apology video for a crime they definitely committed. In the back row, the gossip is flying faster than a leaked group chat. Suwam's classmate whispers the tea about how their school's resident genius, Jinshan, got beaten up and punished by the principal for smashing the combat tester. Suwon listens quietly, knowing full well that Chen Shan is currently taking the blame for our boy's late-night workout like a loyal cameraman taking a copyright strike to save the main channel. The principal steps onto the stage with a guest who has the aura of a legendary influencer who just dropped a $500 Alpha Mindset Masterclass. This is Old Chen, a Tier 3 warrior champion, here to teach the students the Thunder Rush Fest. The students are losing their minds because normally, learning a C-rank martial art like this costs more than a front row seat at a Logan Paul fight. Suwong realizes this is the same move the White Fox used to almost end his career, and since his poverty logic tells him that free knowledge is the best kind of knowledge, he decides to lock in and absorb every second of the demonstration. Olchen doesn't have time for a long-winded intro. He's all about the results. He explains the tiers of the technique. At the beginner level, your punch makes a single thunderclap sound, and it scales up until you hit grand achievement with 7 claps. He tells the kids that reaching perfect completion with 9 claps is basically a myth, and they should just be happy if they can make a single pop by the end of the day. He demonstrates the move 10 times with the ferocity of a guy who just sized crypto portfolio tank, while the students try to follow along until their limbs are trembling like they're doing a 24-hour fitness challenge from MrBeast video. After a few hours, most of the students are on the floor, questioning their life choices. Chen Shan, the genius, actually manages to hit the beginner level, and the principal tries to hype him up like he's the next big thing on the platform. Old Chen, however, isn't impressed, noting that in any other city, this kid would barely be passing. As the principal and Old Chen walk outside to leave, they suddenly hear a sound that makes their souls want to exit their bodies. It's the sound of 7 thunderclaps, followed immediately by 9. Old Chen is literally trembling, realizing someone in this school just reached perfect completion. The sheer frequency of the sound acts like a high-speed tutorial for his own brain, and Old Chen actually breaks through his own plateau, hitting 8 thunderclaps on the spot. He's ecstatic, realizing he's been enlightened by a mystery student, but by the time he and the principal rush to the training ground, our boy has already vanished into the night like a creator who just deleted their entire social media presence after a scandal. Suwon is currently walking through the streets, feeling like his body has been through a meat grinder. Learning the Thunder Rush Fist was way more taxing than his previous skills, but his stats window is looking like the ultimate motivational thumbnail. His blood energy is sitting at 91.7, and his new technique is already at perfect completion. He realizes he needs more martial Dao points to finally hit the warrior rank, so he heads to his workplace, the Rage Thunder Dojo, hoping for some sparring action that doesn't involve a life or death struggle. Inside the dojo, he's greeted by a friend with a spear, but the vibe in the room is immediately ruined by a purple-haired disherbag named Leon. This guy is the disciple of a newly hired instructor, and has the energy of someone who spent way too much time watching Andrew Tate clips and now thinks he owns the room. Leon is busy bullying a student, telling him his comprehension is trash, but our boy steps in and grabs Liang's wrist with the cold precision of a moderator banning a troll. Leon is offended and challenges Suwon to a one-on-one in the ring, but before they can start, the head instructor arrives to begin class. This instructor is a total scammer who demonstrates the Rage Sea Spear technique exactly once before telling the students that if they can't learn it, it's a skill issue. The students are furious because they can't even see the moves from the back row, but Suhong's brain is already processing the core of the technique like a high-speed AI. He sees the spear moving like a dragon diving into the sea and immediately picks up a weapon to try it out. In front of the entire class, our boy recreates the technique so perfectly that the other students start calling him a martial arts prodigy, wondering if they're even the same species. Leon, who is currently fuming that his spotlight has been stolen, decides he needs to test Suhong's depth. He approaches our boy, pretending to offer pointers, but his face says he's looking for a fight. Suhong's friend warns him that Leon is actually strong, but our boy is as relaxed as a creator with 1 billion views. Leon charges in with a subtle mastery-level spear strike, but Suwon counters it with a proficient move that leaves the purple-haired bully realizing his main character energy just hit a very solid brick wall. Our boy disarms the purple-haired bully with the casual ease of a moderator banning a troll, and he's immediately hit with a system notification that he just farmed 35 martial Dao points. He realizes that even these low-stakes sparring matches are basically a side quest for free experience, and he decides he definitely needs to start clashing with more people to keep the grind going. Meanwhile, the Purple Third Disciple is having a full-blown existential crisis on the floor, questioning his entire life of training and wondering why a mere apprentice just hit him with that main character energy. He tries to launch one last desperate punch, but the instructor steps in and slaps him back to reality, telling him that a martial artist who can't handle a loss is just a glorified cloud chaser. The teacher realizes Suwon is the kind of genius you only see in the high-rent districts of the imperial capital and decides that getting humbled by a prodigy is actually the best thing that could happen to his arrogant student. He even bows to our boy, asking for forgiveness and calling him young brother, which is a total vibe shift from the ignore the commoners attitude he had 5 minutes ago. Later that night, our boy is walking through the streets feeling like he just finished a marathon in a weighted vest, but he's hyped about his new skills and his point total. He realizes the school exam is coming up and all the rich kids have already bought high-grade alloy weapons that probably cost more than his entire house. Suwon knows he needs an alloy spear to match his new favorite fighting style, but his bank account is currently screaming in poverty because his savings are reserved for his aunt's medical bills. He spots a news broadcast on a public TV announcing that the city lord is hiring warriors to hunt fierce beasts outside the walls for some serious cash, and he realizes that going into the wilderness is his only ticket to that premium gear. When he gets home, he finds his aunt and uncle still patching up old clothes like they're trying to win a DIY competition for the most stressed-out family in the city. His aunt asks why they're still working so hard when Suwon already gave them a pile of cash, but his uncle insists he needs to keep earning so the kids don't have to carry the whole world on their shoulders. Our boy tries to take the work away from them, promising his uncle that he can earn enough for them to retire and focus on their health, but he realizes that until he's basically sitting on a mountain of gold, they'll never feel secure enough to stop the hustle. To prepare for the danger ahead, Suwon heads back to his favorite rooftop under the stars, looking like he's about to drop a 40-minute video on how to escape the Matrix. He dumps all his new points into blood energy, hitting a 95.2 and realizing he is just one small step away from becoming a true warrior. After 48 hours of pure training, he manages to push every single one of his martial skills to perfect completion, making his stat window look like a fully maxed out RPG character before the first boss fight. On Saturday, he finally arrives at the Star City Warrior base, a place he's seen on TV but never visited in person. The area is crawling with actual warriors, and the prices for beast parts are listed like a high-stakes menu where a Tier 1 upper stage ear is worth 5,000 coins. The system is pretty primitive. You have to bring back the left ear of the beast as proof of the kill, which is definitely not the kind of unboxing video our boy was hoping for. While he's checking the prices, a group of loudmouth goons arrives, clearing a path for a guy who looks like a budget version of the White Fox from the arena. The crowd whispers that this guy is only acting like he owns the place because his uncle is the base director, and everyone seems to be celebrating the fact that he recently got his face rearranged by a mystery fighter. Our boy realizes that in the wilderness, the humans are often more dangerous than the monsters, and he decides to keep his head down and stay alert. As he heads for the exit, a guard looks at him like he's just another ignorant kid looking for a Darwin Award, but Suwong doesn't care about the skepticism. He treks into the forest for 2 hours, realizing the outskirts have been picked clean by other hunters, so he decides to go deeper into the woods where the real danger lives. He finally spots a shadow moonwolf, a Tier 1 beast straight out of his textbooks, and as the creature jumps to attack with its mouth open, our boy prepares to see if his training is enough to survive a real-life horror movie. Our boy is currently in the woods, dodging a beast attack like it's a bad vibes text from an ex. He delivers a single Thunder Rush fist that ends the creature's career in one go, and for a second, his hands are trembling, not from fear, but from the pure dopamine rush of realizing he's officially the main character. He's feeling himself, wondering how he'd fare against a middle-stage beast, when a massive foraging black bear shows up to test his ego. Our hero handles the Tier 1 middle-stage beast with the same casual energy most people use to swat a fly, pocketing a mental 3,000 yuan reward and feeling like he's finally escaping the Matrix. Suddenly, a system notification pops up like a high-priority crypto alert, reminding him he finally has enough points to stop being a peasant and officially break through to the warrior rank. But before he can hit that level up button, he senses a presence so powerful it makes his internal alarm system go off. He investigates and finds a Tier 1 upper stage black jade python, absolutely wrecking a group of adventurers. The scene is a total disaster, with several people already having their souls leave their bodies for a permanent vacation. Our boy isn't about to let a good crisis go to waste, so he loots a spear from a fallen adventurer, basically telling the corpse he's just borrowing it with the confidence of a YouTuber reacting to someone else's content. Even though an upper stage beast usually requires a whole squad of warriors, Suwon knows his skills are at perfect completion, which is basically the martial arts equivalent of having a verified badge and 1 million followers. He launches into a fight that is more about tactical cardio than mindless ego, using his Rage Sea Spear technique to pierce the python's hide. He realizes the size difference is massive, so he plays it smart, striking and then immediately creating distance like he's dodging a cancellation thread on Twitter. He circles the beast, weakening it strike by strike, and realizes that while this hit-and-run style is exhausting, it's the only way to ensure he doesn't end up as a snake's lunch. Just as the python starts trembling and our boy prepares to deliver the fatal blow, a shadow jumps into the fray to ruin the vibe. It's the White Fox and his crew, showing up with the exact same energy as a scummy influencer who arrives at a charity event just to take a selfie and leave. The fox looks at our boy with an intimidating smirk, clearly trying to initiate a hostile takeover of the kills Swang did all the work for. He has the audacity to suggest our hero just hand over the python, looking like he's about to launch a how to profit from other people's hard work masterclass right there in the middle of the forest. White Fox looks at our boy and insists that he must be the luckiest guy on the planet for happening to pick up a heavily injured black jade python, assuming Suwon is just a vulture looking for an easy payout. Our boy realizes these guys have the audacity of a low-tier reaction channel trying to claim they did all the work for a viral video. With 5 warriors in front of him, Suwon knows his poverty logic says fighting them head-on is a terrible investment. One of the goons decides to flex some serious alpha male energy, shouting at our boy to get lost because young Master E wants the kill. Our boy isn't having it and reminds the goon that the only reason he was pushed back before was a cheap ambush. He delivers a punch that has enough terrifying power to make the goon realize his subscription to life is about to be cancelled, knocking him out on the spot. White Fox sees the diamond fist and finally recognizes our boy as the Minotaur who previously bruised his ego. He decides his reputation is more important than his health and orders his remaining team to kill Swang. Our boy takes the fight into the dense forest, turning the woods into a high-stakes game of hide-and-seek where he is the one doing the seeking. The goons start getting nervous, realizing the density of the trees makes them perfect targets for an ambush. One of them barely has time to wonder if they're being watched before he's taken out, leaving the White Fox to realize our boy's speed is actually insane and his subscriber count of living teammates is dropping fast. The remaining warriors stand back to back like they're trying to protect their last 2 brain cells from a logic leak. One of them notices our boy is using the 9-clap Thunder Rush Fist, a move so advanced that even Tier 3 warriors usually can't reach perfect completion. White Fox tries to act like he's still in control, but he's privately wondering how someone with 0 professional funding is outperforming his entire payroll. Our boy is watching from the trees, feeling his blood energy running low after his fight with the snake, but he decides to rely on stealth to pick them off one by one. He launches his spear as a distraction and knocks out another teammate, leaving the White Fox and one very terrified survivor. The last goon suggests they run for their lives, but the White Fox has too much main character syndrome to accept a defeat. Our boy finishes off the last teammate and starts circling the fox, who is now frantically activating a blue aura move called the Void Piercing Finger. It's a B-rank skill that could probably demolish a small apartment complex, but our boy dodges it like it's a terms of service agreement he doesn't want to read. Realizing he can't hit anything, the White Fox pivots to the ultimate coward move, threatening Suhom's family and bragging that his uncle is the base director. Our boy is officially done with the drama, telling the fox he preferred him when he was just being an arrogant brat instead of a snitch. He powers up with a red aura and delivers a punch to the face that tells the fox exactly what happens when you threaten a man's household. Just as our boy is enjoying the silence, the Black Jade Python suddenly recovers its strength and lunges from the shadows, finishing off the White Fox in one blow and leaving our boy to realize that while he was busy fighting humans, the real monster just got its second wind. The squad of goons wakes up with a collective migraine that feels like a hangover from a 24-hour live stream in a haunted warehouse. They start looking around for their young master, wondering if he finally finished off the brat, only to see our boy sprinting toward them with the Black Jade Python acting as his unwanted tail. Suwon yells for them to get out of the way, but before they can even process the situation, the snake treats the entire team like a group of seasonal workers being laid off without a severance package. As the goons are wiped out, our boy receives a system notification that he's earning 30 Marshall Dow points for every indirect kill, realizing that letting the environment do the dirty work is the ultimate hack for farming experience. With 500 points finally in the bank, Suwon realizes he has enough to stop being a peasant and officially break through to the warrior rank. He finds a nearby cave that's just small enough to keep the snake out and initiates the level up process. His entire body starts burning with the intensity of a viral cancellation thread, and he describes the sensation as if magma is flowing through his veins instead of blood. When the dust settles, our boy emerges from the cave surrounded by a powerful aura, looking like a man whose muscles have muscles and who is officially done being the underdog. Now a true warrior, Suwon decides it's time for a little payback. He jumps out of the cave and takes on the Python head-on, delivering a series of Thunder Rush fists that would make a professional boxer retire out of pure shame. He realizes that since his breakthrough, he can take the snake's attacks without flinching, and he eventually puts the beast down for good, earning himself another 92 points. However, he quickly runs into a problem with his poverty logic. The system requires a beast's left ear as proof of a kill, but snakes are notoriously lacking in the ear department. He decides to skip the paperwork and instead loots the corpse of the White Fox, finding a manual for the B-rank void-piercing finger skill. Instead of heading straight back to civilization, Suwang retreats to his cave to pull an absolute 3-day subathon of training. He enters the system realm and uses his clone to master the new B-rank skill, reaching perfect completion in record time. He tests his new power on a massive bear, piercing through it like it's a cardboard cutout, and decides he's finally ready to cash in his chips. When he arrives at the warrior base, he drops a haul so massive it makes the surrounding crowd look like they've just seen a ghost. With 72 lower stage, 83 middle stage, and 17 upper stage beasts, his total payout hits over 400,000 blue star coins. The cashier is absolutely baffled, and our boy starts to worry he might have been a little too conspicuous with his main character gains. The atmosphere at the base shifts from excitement to pure dread as the base director, who just happens to be the White Fox's uncle. He is furious because his nephew and his entire team have been wiped out, and he orders a total lockdown of the base, insisting that every warrior be searched for the missing B-rank manual. While our boy tries to blend into the background, the cashier, who clearly hasn't learned that snitches get stitches, points him out to the director. The powerful man approaches Suan with a menacing look, noting that anyone who can pull in 400,000 coins alone is someone he needs to have a very long, very uncomfortable conversation with. The cashier is currently acting like a professional snitch, insisting that our boy couldn't possibly have killed that many beasts unless he'd looted a high-tier backpack. He's practically begging the guards to search Suwang immediately. The bodyguards approach with their fists literally on fire, giving off major security and a controversial influencer party energy. They tell our boy not to resist, but Suwang brandishes his spear so fast the guards can't even see the frames of the animation. Our boy drops the ultimate trump card, reminding them he's a student from Star City Nova 1 High School. The director knows that school's principal is the kind of man you don't mess with unless you want your career to have a permanent vacation. The director realizes he's in a state of high-definition tension. If Suwang is actually a genius, offending him would be a massive L for the base's reputation. He tries to play the diplomat, offering 10,000 yuan as compensation for the search. Our boy, being a pragmatist with a PhD in making bank, holds up 3 fingers and demands 30,000. He knows he's cleaned up his trail better than a YouTuber deleting a 2012 tweet, so he's not worried. The guards find absolutely nothing, and the director is forced to cough up the 30 grand and let him go. As Suan walks away, the director orders a lockdown on everyone else, but our boy is already thinking about heading to the Warrior Association to get his official certification and finally escape his poverty logic. An hour later, our boy is at a hotel, looking at his status window, which is currently more stacked than a Mr. Beast prize pool. He has 534 Marshall Dow points to spend, and he's looking at his stats like he's posing for a motivational thumbnail. He decides to experiment, dumping points into Spirit and Mortal Body to see what happens. He feels a surge of power that makes it feel like magma is flowing through his veins, and his Mortal Body stat jumps to over 36%. He realizes he's glowing with so much red aura that he looks like a man whose muscles have muscles, so he dials back the intensity so he doesn't have to explain his physical transformation to the locals. Our boy arrives at the Warrior Association, ready to take his Tier 1 assessment. The receptionist looks at him like he's a lost kid, and the other warriors in the room are whispering that he's probably just there to try it out because he doesn't have a master. He watches a guy named Li Ming, who is another disciple from the arrogant dojo master, score a 1,763 on the combat power test. Li Ming is acting like he just hit 1 billion subscribers, looking down on everyone with the energy of someone who spent way too much time watching Andrew Tate clips. Then it's our boy's turn. He steps up to the blood energy detector, and the result hits 123. The crowd's collective soul practically leaves their bodies as they wonder if the machine is actually broken. Li Ming tries to cope with the news, insisting that high blood energy is useless if you don't have the combat power to back it up. Suan approaches the machine for the power test, thinking that 40% strength should be enough. But he bumps it up to 50 just to be safe. He delivers a punch that doesn't just register a score, it sends the entire detector flying across the room. The screen flashes 3,000 points, which is the standard for a Tier 1 upper stage warrior. The room goes silent as they realize this kid just put up numbers that defy human imagination. Up in her office, the association president, Fu Linxian, is currently doom-scrolling and being frustrated because her branch hasn't produced a monster genius in ages. She's worried her position is cooked until an aide bursts in, shouting that a student just smashed the test device and reached a power level that shouldn't be possible. Our boy is currently at the central hall of the association, being led around by a guy with glasses who looks like he is handling the high-stakes logistics for a world tour. They are heading to the second floor to officially register Su-hong's warrior identity and collect his stipend, which is the only motivation our boy really needs to keep the grind going. Suddenly, the sound of heels clicks at the top of the stairs, and the atmosphere shifts like a CU just walked into a room of unpaid interns. It is the blonde president from earlier, and she dismisses the staff member because she wants to personally receive this mystery talent. Suwon realizes this is the top-tier boss of the Star City branch, Tier 5 warrior who looks a lot less like a dusty government official and more like she is about to drop a skincare routine video that costs more than a year of tuition. Inside the office, the president mentions that the school principal has been complaining about a lack of talent, completely unaware that he was hiding a literal monster in the back row of his gymnasium. Suwon tries to keep it professional, asking for his official certificate and his guidance arts. But the blonde boss decides she is going to personally mentor him. She explains that guidance arts are like specialized chargers for your soul, pulling spiritual energy from the universe to give your attacks elemental flair. It is not just about getting stronger. It is about making your punches carry the destructive power of a wildfire or a lightning strike. She pulls out a crystal ball to test his compatibility, boasting that her own 80% fire compatibility makes her an absolute prodigy. Our boy touches the sphere, and the glow is so intense it practically blinds everyone in the room. He hits 100% on fire, which makes the president's soul practically leave her body for a permanent vacation. But Suwon isn't done playing with the equipment. He notices the sphere shifting to thunder, then wind, and eventually hits a perfect score on every single one of the 7 attributes. The president is currently sweating more than a crypto bro during a market crash, realizing that while she thought she was a top-tier player, she is actually just an NPC in Su-hong's world. She is forced to admit that our boy is a freak of nature on par with the geniuses from the imperial capital. Our boy asks for all 7 manuals because his budget-conscious mindset tells him that leaving 6 attributes on the table is a crime against his future bank account. The president warns him that trying to master everything is the fastest way to stay a Tier 1 loser for the next several decades, but Suwon insists on taking them all anyway. She eventually caves and tells him about the escalating friction in the Myriad Heavens battlefield, where a major war could break out at any moment. To prepare for the chaos, the government is setting up a genius training camp, and if Suwon can take first place in his school's monthly exam, she will give him a recommendation slot. Our boy thinks back to the beast that took his family when he was young, and decides he is done letting the world treat him like a side character. Back at home, the news that he is officially a warrior makes his aunt and uncle break down into tears of pure joy. His uncle finally realizes he can stop working himself to the bone now that our boy is bringing home a 10,000 yuan stipend every month like a professional athlete. Suwon looks at them and realizes he is finally the pillar of the household, ending their days of struggling just to keep the lights on. Late that night, he starts practicing the Heavenly Flame guidance art, expecting a slow burn, but he realizes he is already reaching the beginner level. He notices a new section on his system panel showing that his guidance art has levels, something the president never even mentioned. He realizes that either she was holding out on him, or he is the only person in existence who can level up his soul like it is a character in a high-stakes RPG. Our boy is currently staring at his system, trying to figure out if Martial Dao points are the universal currency for his soul's expansion pack. He decides to collect the entire set of guidance arts like they're limited edition trading cards, hitting level 1 on Thunder, Water, Earth, and Wind. He quickly realizes that these different energies are beefing with each other in his body like rival fanbases on a toxic forum thread, reminding him why that one genius stayed a Tier 1 loser for decades. He spends the entire night trying to fuse thunder and fire, failing repeatedly until dawn when he finally succeeds, feeling like a man who just successfully overclocked his brain without it exploding. He heads to the arena to find a Tier 3 combat power tester, praying this one doesn't crumble like a cheap cookie under 50% pressure. He dials his strength back to a modest 30%, but the fused fire and thunder power sends the numbers skyrocketing past 2300. Our boy realizes that even with his current blood energy, he is hitting with the force of a freight train. He starts wondering what a 7 attribute fusion would look like, probably something that would break the entire simulation. But when he tries to add a third element, he hits a wall. He feels like he is trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while his soul is on fire, realizing he might need to level up his guidance arts further to handle that much power. The next day at school, the field is packed for the monthly exam. The principal is on stage dropping the news that this year's top 3 students get a slot in a new elite training camp featuring Tier 7 Grandmaster instructors. To the students, a Grandmaster is basically the A-list celebrity of the martial arts world, considering their own principal is only a Tier 3. Suwon remembers the president promised him a recommendation just for taking first place, which makes the top 3 goal feel like a side quest. He hears the gossip that the school geniuses, Chen Shaolin and Li Tu, have officially hit warrior rank and are acting like they just signed a multi-million-dollar streaming deal. They are currently staring each other down, ready to see who is the real number 1, completely oblivious to the fact that our boy is operating on a completely different plane of existence. Suddenly, Jiang Ming, the arrogant dojo master, arrives with his purple-haired disciple, Leon, looking to embarrass the school. He asks the principal why he looks like his wife ran off, which is peak toxic Gimbro energy. He wants to set up a spar to show off his disciples, but then Leon spots our boy in the crowd and whispers to his teacher. Jiang Ming's soul practically leaves his body for a permanent vacation when he realizes the monster from the dojo is actually a student at the school. He immediately does a complete 180, surrendering and claiming his own disciples are useless compared to the school's talent. The principal and the staff are left stunned, thinking he is being incredibly sarcastic and mocking them, while Jiang Ming is actually just trying to save his students from being turned into human shish kebabs. The exam officially kicks off, and Suwon finds himself in the ring against a quasi-warrior who is talking big like he is filming a how to be an alpha tutorial. The kid tells our boy to just step down before he gets knocked flat, but Suwon doesn't even give him the chance to finish his monologue. Our boy vanishes from the kid's line of sight and reappears with a single slap that puts the guy down instantly. The crowd and his friends are left in a state of pure shock, realizing that while they were busy studying, Suwon was busy becoming a high-definition nightmare for anyone standing in his way. After our boy sends his opponent into the middle of next week with a single slap, the students on the sidelines start whispering like a group chat that just found a new scandal. They're wondering how on earth he's this strong and if he's secretly reached Tier 1 status while nobody was looking. The bracket updates, and everyone realizes our hero has officially punched his ticket to the finals. Up in the stands, the director and the Tier 3 mentor are having a full-blown crisis of professional competence. The director is busy questioning his life choices, wondering where this monster came from and why he wasn't present during the private training sessions. The focus shifts to the semifinals where the school's resident geniuses, Chen Shaolin and Li Han, are duking it out. Their strength is so evenly matched it's like watching 2 mirrors fight, both utilizing their Tier 3 fist techniques. Chen Shan decides he's done playing nice and starts glowing with a fire attribute projection that's hotter than a leaked celebrity phone. He claims he's the undisputed number 1, but his opponent isn't impressed by a little heat. Li Chu reveals that he also knows attribute projection, and he's rocking a mental attribute which is basically the cheat code of combat. He follows up with a 5-sound Thunder Fist, making the director realize this kid has been hiding his true power level the whole time. The mentor is genuinely impressed that Li Chu mastered both attribute projection and the Thunder Fist in just 10 days. The director decides the finals are already a foregone conclusion, convinced our boy has no chance against such a high-tier technique. He thinks it's a pity our hero doesn't have a guiding technique to level the playing field. Suddenly, a man in a crisp suit approaches and drops a 50,000 yuan bet that our boy will take first place. The director, thinking he's about to secure the easiest bag of his career, laughs and accepts the money, basically treating the bat like a donation to his retirement fund. Back in the ring, the finals are officially ready to pop off. Our rival, Li Chu, is grinning like he just won a lottery he didn't even enter. He tells our hero that he's lucky he didn't run into him or Chen Shan earlier in the bracket, acting like our boy's presence is just a glitch in the system. Suwon just looks at him with the bored energy of a pro gamer playing a tutorial. After hunting lethal beasts in the wild, these pampered students feel about as threatening as a lukewarm bowl of soup. Our hero realizes he's finally found someone worth using as a training dummy. The rival lunges forward, claiming that the gap between them is wider than the distance between a billionaire and a tax bracket. He unleashes the 5-sound Thunder Fist right out of the gate, making the crowd gasp as if they've just seen someone bring a bazooka to a knife fight. Everyone assumes it's over for our boy, but Suwon just wants to see how much his physical body can handle before it starts complaining. He doesn't dodge or weave. He meets the punch head-on with 5 rapid-fire strikes that neutralize the attack like a moderator deleting a spam comment. The rival is stunned, realizing our boy's fists feel like they're made of industrial-grade titanium. The crowd is losing their minds because our hero hasn't even used a martial art yet, relying entirely on his special physique to stay in the game. The director is suddenly thrilled that his school produced a natural-born tank, but the mentor points out that our boy is still at a disadvantage because he hasn't condensed an attribute yet. Our rival gets desperate and screams at Suwon to stop being so arrogant, launching into another full-power attack. Our boy realizes that if he wants to end this before lunch, he has to stop playing around. Suddenly, the air starts vibrating as our hero begins sparking with a lightning aura that looks like a high-budget special effect. The director and the mentor nearly fall out of their seats, realizing our boy hasn't just mastered a guiding technique, he's mastered the strongest one in the catalog. Our hero tells the rival that since he showed off his ultimate move, it's only fair to return the favor. He steps in and delivers a punch that produces 9 distinct, booming thunderclaps. It's the legendary 9-sound Thunder Fist, the perfect completion stage that most warriors only see in their dreams. The rival's face meets a fist that's moving faster than a cancellation thread, and the crowd goes absolutely silent before erupting into cheers for the new god-tier legend. The mentor finally connects the dots, realizing this is the mystery genius who enlightened him earlier. The director declares our boy the true dragon of Star City, predicting that when he hits the elite training camp, the high-status geniuses there are going to have a very bad day. Our hero isn't just a student anymore. He's a rising force of nature ready to soar far beyond the limits of this small pond. Our boy arrives home and his uncle is practically glowing with the energy of a proud fanboy who just saw his favorite streamer hit 1 million subscribers. He asks how the exam went, and our hero casually mentions he took first place, which means he's officially headed to the elite training camp. Just as they're about to celebrate, there's a knock at the door from a lady with the energy of a bitter HOA president whose favorite hobby is reporting long grass. She reveals she's the parent of the kid who ranked 4th and tries to bribe our boy with 30,000 yuan to give up his spot. She starts ranting about how the camp is a literal death trap where rich kids chug high-grade elixirs like they're at an open bar while our boy's family is basically one bad day away from a financial collapse. Our boy's aunt is suddenly having a private crisis over the danger, but his uncle decides he's had enough of this lady's toxic monologue. He shuts her down with the confidence of a man who knows his family is the real deal, telling her he trusts our hero more than a random woman's bank account before slamming the door in her face like she's a pop-up ad for a crypto scam. Left on the porch, the lady fumes and wishes for his elimination, but inside, the vibe is all heart. Our boy apologizes for hiding the risks, but his uncle just gives him the ultimate vote of confidence, promising that the family will support his hustle no matter what. Even his aunt, though terrified, just wants him to stay safe, which makes our boy realize he needs to become the ultimate insurance policy for his household. Later that night, our hero is back on his favorite rooftop posing for the moonlight like he's recording a motivational TikTok. He realizes his 285 martial points aren't enough to handle the high-level monsters at the camp, so he dumps his points into his mortal frame physique. He feels the aura surge around him as his body upgrades to 64%, looking more and more like he was carved out of granite. He also notices his thunder and fire guidance techniques have hit level 3 just by running in the background like a well-optimized app. By the time the sun starts peeking over the horizon, his vitality has jumped to 126, and he's holding a sphere of fire and lightning that looks like a miniature supernova. The morning of the departure is a total tearjerker. His aunt and uncle are trying to play it cool, but their eyeballs are practically sweating with anxiety. His uncle tries to balance the mood by telling him to bring home another first-place trophy, even though he's privately vibrating with worry. Our boy sets off, only to be intercepted by Sister Wu, the blonde president of the Martial Arts Association. She pulls up in a car that definitely smells like expensive perfume and legislative power and tells him to get in. As they drive, the president drops some serious tea about the competition. She warns him about the monsters at the camp, high-stage warriors who are already pushing rank 2 and armed with Class B skills that would make a normal student's soul leave their body. Our boy listens with the calm energy of a man who knows he has a digital cheat code in his back pocket. While the president is busy worrying that he might lose his confidence, our hero is already mentally planning how to farm those elite skills in his system space. He stays so unbothered that the president decides she doesn't even need to worry about his mindset, because our boy is clearly operating on a level of chill that shouldn't even be legal. While our boy chills in the car like he is on a Sunday drive, the second and third place runner-ups in the backseat are having a collective panic attack. The training camp is located in the Tianlin mountain range, notoriously swarming with fierce beasts. The principal tries to lower their blood pressure, explaining that grandmasters guard the area, but our hero is already mentally reviewing the real estate. He knows this massive range is overflowing with spiritual energy and beasts that scale all the way up to Tier 7 Beast Kings. Even the outer ring is a nightmare that Tier 2 warriors actively avoid. As they drive deeper, glowing red eyes pierce through the dark forest, causing the guys in the back to practically jump out of their skin over an imminent ambush. Our boy just flashes a knowing smile, realizing the human competition will be just as vicious as the local wildlife, and he is fully ready for it. Pulling up to base camp, their trio gets instantly stared down by the crowd. A suited examiner intercepts them, telling everyone to park themselves until the VIPs arrive. Right on cue, a fleet of obnoxious limousines rolls up, and the crowd practically vibrates with jealousy. Out steps Goddess Yen, a ridiculously beautiful spiritual mindmaster, followed by Lin Singer, who is so flashy he is basically a walking strobe light. Finally, Tiantua, the city lord's son nicknamed the Savage God King, steps out flexing his 95% fire attribute and special physique. Our boy watches this parade of privilege, smiling as he waits to see if their actual skills match their PR budgets. The examiner finally announces the rules, stating the real camp is 30 kilometers deep into the mountains, and grabbing a token hidden inside a fierce beast is the only VIP ticket inside. One of our boy's teammates realizes this means dodging high-level monsters that could genuinely cancel their life subscriptions. Our hero, however, calculates how much extra time he will have in that 8-hour window to slaughter random beasts and farm a mountain of martial Dao points. When someone nervously asks what happens if they run into an overpowered monster, the examiner cheerfully replies they will be eliminated but rescued from becoming a snack. The crowd immediately throws a tantrum about the luck-based unfairness, prompting the examiner to drop his customer service voice. He harshly reminds them that the Myriad Heavens battlefield does not care about fairness, advising them to bully the weak and gang up on targets if they want to survive. A snobby participant in a suit loudly agrees, calling the complainers a bunch of terrified trash, which triggers a frustrated competitor to challenge him. The examiner cuts the tension, stating fighting is prohibited at the base, but the absolute second they enter the mountains, it is a glorious free-for-all. Our boy quietly absorbs this, wondering if treating these kids like piñatas will drop massive amounts of points. The second the assessment begins, an absolute stampede erupts. The frustrated guy instantly chases down the suit guy, and they clash with the golden aura punching against the blue aura. Our boy watches from the sidelines, entirely underwhelmed by their incredibly mediocre collision. Realizing these so-called geniuses are nowhere near their hyped-up rumors, he figures hunting beasts is a much better use of his schedule. But as he tries to leave, the two brawlers keep squawking, throwing the word trash back and forth in an endless debate about generational wealth versus hard work. Annoyed by the live elitist podcast happening in front of him, our boy simply cannot pass up the point delivery. He strolls right up and politely suggests they stop slapping each other and team up against him instead. The frustrated guy throws a tantrum and lunges, but our boy does not even blink before driving a casual knee straight into his stomach, launching him into a tree and instantly putting him in sleep mode. The soup guy is left standing there looking like a frozen Windows update, completely unable to comprehend the one-shot. Our boy casually announces it is his turn, immediately turning his lights out with a single, effortless strike of his weapon. Quick pause. If you're enjoying the story so far, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps to make it worth to bring next parts. Done? Awesome, let's get back to it. After sending the two elitists into standby mode with zero effort, our boy dusts off his hands, casually noting that this is the exact price they pay for looking down on ordinary cultivators. Meanwhile, in the control room, a pair of observers are staring at the monitors in absolute disbelief. One of them wonders aloud where this absolute menace even came from, pointing out that those two kids were having a perfectly dramatic, high-stakes duel, only for our boy to waltz in and reboot both their operating systems with one shot. The other observer asks if getting knocked out counts as elimination. The examiner shakes his head, clarifying that since neither of them voluntarily mashed the rescue button, the assessment is still very much active. Back on the forest floor, the two concussed brawlers finally start rebooting. The soup guy touches his head, instantly remembering our boy turning his lights out in a single move. He curses out loud, deeply offended by the unprecedented humiliation and swearing vengeance if he ever catches our hero again. The frustrated guy groans in agreement, insisting that if he had not underestimated the kid, he never would have been folded like a cheap lawn chair. They lock eyes, and in a plot twist no one saw coming, they actually shake hands. The frustrated guy apologizes for his earlier trash talk, admitting the suit guy is legitimately strong. The suit guy returns the compliment, apologizing for the mockery and declaring them brothers in arms. Having fully trammelblunder over their shared concussion, they absolutely must find our boy and smack him with a stick a few times just to get the disrespect out of their systems. While his new fan club plots their revenge, our boy is trucking deeper into the forest. He spots a pack of Tier 1 lower stage giant tusk boars and dramatically rolls his eyes at the sheer volume of beasts in the Tianlin mountain range. As the entire herd charges him, he slices through them like a hot knife through butter. However, he quickly notices a glaring issue. Before his recent level-ups, defeating a single boar would drop several dozen martial Dao points into his account. Now, the rewards are trickling in at a measly 7, 6, or 10 points a pop. Frustrated by the diminishing returns, he decides to stop complaining and start checking the loot, hoping to finally secure an entrance token. Just like the previous batches, these boars are completely empty inside. He realizes that only the higher-tier VIP beasts are carrying the actual tokens. Half an hour later, our boy is wandering through the trees, deeply confused. When he was just 3 to 5 kilometers into the forest, he was tripping over 10 low-level beasts an hour. Now, the woods are completely dead. Right on cue, the universe answers his question by dropping a Tier 1 upper stage Star 9 black tiger right into his path. Thrilled to finally find a worthy target, he uninstalls the tiger from the mortal realm in 2 sweet, effortless moves, bagging 35 points. He marvels at how killing an upper stage beast is now as easy as breathing for him. Digging into the tiger's upper stomach, he finally strikes gold and secures his entrance token. Taking a moment to strategize, he realizes it took him 3 whole hours just to find 1 token. The outer edges were practically an all-you-can-eat buffet of low-stage boars, but these upper-stage tigers only spawn once every half hour. Even though the tigers drop more points per kill, the spawn rate is so abysmal that farming the weak, low-level beasts back on the perimeter will actually yield way more points overall. Deciding to choose quantity over quality, he calculates he has 5 hours left to farm enough points to entirely max out his mortal body progress. The scene shifts to our boy treating the forest like his personal punching bag. After slaughtering dozens of Tier 1 beasts, he finally runs into a middle stage bear and puts it down in 2 lightning-fast moves. He notes that once his mortal body hits 60%, he will be able to crush these middle stage beasts using pure physical strength alone. Checking his mental math, he sees he has banked 254 points and only needs a little over 100 more to hit his maximum cap. A mental system window confirms his absolute dominance, showing his blood energy sitting at 126, spirit at 26.5, and his mortal body officially pushed to 64.6%. His standard and heavenly flame guidance arts are both at level 3, while his void-piercing finger, spear technique, and thunder rush are all sitting comfortably at perfect mastery. Striking a confident pose, he reminds himself there are still over 3 hours left on the clock, fully intending to vacuum up every last point he needs. But before he can start his next farming rotation, an unearthly sound shatters the silence. He looks up and spots a colossal flying beast blotting out the sky. Panic briefly spikes as he wonders if this monstrosity could be the legendary Golden Rock Beast King. Without warning, the massive creature simply flaps its wings once, sending a devastating, hyper-pressurized shockwave of air tearing directly toward our boy. Bracing for impact, he realizes the sheer, terrifying power of a Beast King is absolutely no joke. Thanks for sticking around until the end. If you enjoyed this recap, drop a like and let me know your favorite moment in the comments. I'll see you in the next video for more madness. Peace.